Wait, there's something very weak coming through.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 94. Today, we've got a very special guest, Mr. Brandon Wainerdi from Talking Bay 90.
Aaron, I've lost all of your sound. Okay. All right. I think Aaron has gone to the dark side. And Todd has gone also missing, so yay, technical difficulties. All right, so I'm not sure where Aaron left off, but we do have a special guest with us, Brandon, from Talking Bay 94, Star Wars podcast. So we'll be talking with him a little bit later, as well as learning a bit more about Docking Bay 94. So Brandon, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Thanks for having me.
So as you know, Aaron is with us, and otherwise Todd would be here, but it looks like, I don't know, maybe a porg is chewing on all the wires or something. I don't know what's going on. But everybody's dropping like flies. All right, Brandon, it's you and me for right now, buddy. Okay,
all right, let's do it.
Cool.
Take it over.
As always, please check us out on social media, WSTR Media, all lowercase, all one word. You can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com or leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR, 630-557-9787. Leave us a note about Star Wars Celebration, because we'd love just to keep that excitement going as we are just getting closer and closer to Celebration here in Chicago. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on the craziness that are the live episodes every Monday night. You'll find us at youtube.com/WSTR Media. And like many of our podcasts, we're brought to you by Audible tonight. You can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/WSTR. With over 400,000 titles to choose from, you won't be not finding one for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player. So be sure to check that out. And if you don't like the subscription, then back out. They don't care, but you get to keep your free book. So really, everybody's winning. And like all the cool kids, we have merch. So check out our store at teespring.com/stores/WSTR Media. All right, gentlemen, let's see. Todd, are we back?
I'm back. Yeah. I had to pull out from the asteroid field to get a better, clear communication. So now I'm back. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Aaron, are you with us? Oh, sad. All right.
Oh, no.
Well, he'll have some fun facial reactions to the conversation for a little while anyway.
Aaron will be a professional mime. He'd be like,
so stay with us.
Just write notes, Aaron, and we'll read them like, oh, Aaron said this.
Aaron thinks this. Well, later on in the episodes, we're just going to prelim some spoilers here. We've got a segment in the news called Hey Ladies. Maybe less creepy than that, though. Something about Pokemon, princess and birthday surprises, which is also super exciting. So, before we get into the juicy details of Mr. Brandon and his Talking Bay, let's discuss the main topic of Docking Bay 94.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right. I'm crazy. I don't know. Y'all ditched me. Flying solo, man.
No, it's all
Get
good.
it?
It's all
Flying
good.
solo? Nothing? Okay.
No, you're not. I get the reference. Flying solo, yes, but it is one.
Yes.
Docking Bay 94. This is when Obi-Wan and Luke are looking for a freighter pilot to kind of get off Tatooine, and when they meet the infamous Chewbacca and Han Solo, basically after a little banter goes back and forth, they 2000 now, 17 later, blah blah blah. He kind of kindly says, "We leave as soon as you're ready. Docking Bay 94." As you know, us Star Wars nerds, we like our numbers, so Docking Bay 94 is where the infamous Millennium Falcon is parked. Brendan, what did you think of the Millennium Falcon when you saw it in Docking Bay 94?
I mean, really, that's the place, right? That's the first time you see it in the original saga, at least.
Yes.
And what I love, just seeing it there, there's actually a Ralph McQuarrie concept painting. And there's two versions of it. One version is pretty much that exact shot, which is very iconic in itself, right? With their backs turned. But there's an earlier version, which I only just recently discovered, which is the Colin Cantwell version of the Millennium Falcon, which is what the Rebel Blockade Runner ended up being.
Yes, yeah.
And he literally I tried to do it side by side, and it is the same. It is the same painting. He just goes in and repaints the Millennium Falcon. So that's all I can think of now when I'm watching this. And it honestly has ruined the movie for me a little bit, but has,
yeah,
made it a little bit better as well.
So he literally just replaced the Blockade Runner with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I guess we underestimate Ralph McQuarrie and kind of think that he can just paint as much as he wants, right?
Right, yeah.
But I guess he was smart and was like, I don't need to repaint everything. I just need to repaint the actual ship.
It's already set up for him. He just has to replace the ship. Yeah, yeah.
Right, that's why he's the master.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks legit, So yeah, Docking Bay 94 was one of the 362 docking bays, according to Wikipedia, that were in Mos Eisley. So it sounds like it definitely was a happening spot for all those smugglers and everybody hanging out in Mos Eisley. The other thing that we get is that it's housed. It was owned by. Okay, here's a great Star Wars name according to Wikipedia. It's like Owen D. Mala and his wife owned the bay along with 5 others nearby. This docking bay was owned by Owen's father and his grandfather before him. So there's legacy, in Docking Bay 94 and all the docking bays at Mos Eisley. So again, I don't know where Wikipedia got this guy because I've never heard of him. I read a lot of books. I've never heard of this guy, but apparently, Owen D. Mala or whatever. That's the guy. That's the guy that owns it. And it costs you a mere 25 credits per day to use it, So that's not a bad deal. That's not a bad deal. So doing a little more research on this, here's a fun fact. So I think we all know this, that the Millennium Falcon wasn't fully built until The Force Awakens, right? So what they did, little movie magic, is that the set of the Docking Bay 94 was also transformed into the Death Star Docking Bay 327. So I find this fascinating. So like one of the things Brandon, I'm sure you know this, but the cruiser, the Rebel Blockade that you just mentioned earlier, there was really only one hallway that they shot. And they just flipped it around, like George flipped it around to get the other scenes, because they're on a budget. This is shoestring sci-fi right here. But I didn't know about this. I didn't know that the Docking Bay 94 was actually transformed into the same Death Star, scene to be used again, which I think is fascinating. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, super cool. I guess it really speaks to Roger Christian and all the set dressers, especially because really those sets and what we think of Star Wars now are the two stark differences, right? Where you have the dirt and the grime, which is what Star Wars is famous for. But then you have kind of that classic sci-fi, which is the sleek and gunmetal of the Empire. So I love it.
It's quite cool. And the other slick part is these matte paintings, because there's only half the Millennium Falcon built, and yet you see the full Millennium Falcon in not only the Docking Bay 94, but also in the Death Star, which I find fascinating as well. It's like, yeah, half of that is like model, and the half of it is just like a matte painting that they just kind of put over.
The matte paintings of Star Wars. I have a lot of favorite parts of Star Wars, but the matte paintings of Star Wars might be my favorite part of Star Wars. I just think it is the coolest thing. I have a trivia question though.
Okay.
Trivia. I have a piece of trivia.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are aware. Speaking of set dressing.
Okay.
But the number 94 actually appears on the wall of Docking Bay 94. Do you know that?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I literally found this out like 2 months ago, and I was like blown away. I've seen A New Hope like 1,000 times.
Right.
I never noticed it, and I saw that on Twitter. I'm like, no. I've seen this movie. It's not there. And then, and sure enough,
it's very
there.
cool. Carved into the side of the docking bay is this weird 94 looking thing. So that's your Star Wars fun fact of the day.
There you go. There you go.
That's all you got.
Heather, did you know that about that?
No, not until I read the notes.
As of like a minute ago.
As of like a minute ago.
Yes.
No. I didn't know that. I have to say it's just fun when they provide these little golden nuggets for fans. So, like you said, Todd, you watched it how many bajillions of times?
Yes.
And, there's always that little nugget that you get to discover, which is cool.
I think that's what makes Star Wars in general fun, but it's also, I think, we know a lot more with these newer ones. There's a lot more stuff because of the internet, but the older films, especially the original trilogy, obviously, we just don't know some of these stuff. It's starting to come out even later, and we're 41 years later, and we're still finding out some nuggets, but yeah, I think that's fascinating. But I just love the scene. I just love the scene in general. Before we get to special editions, regular edition, you got your Imperial spy. That's like, I don't even know how to describe him. It's more like an elephant with like a steel trunk and goggles. You're like, what is this guy? And he, the stormtroopers can understand him, but he does his little beep 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 and the microphone. You're like, this is kind of weird, but then the stormtroopers just show up. They know what he's doing. He's like, yeah, they're there. They walk in and it's like a firefight just to get out. And I think I just love all the explosions that everyone's like, stormtroopers can't hit anything. Han Solo hits a couple people, but there's like a lot of explosions happening in Docking Bay 94. What do you think of that scene, Brandon?
I love Docking Bay 94 and especially love.
Yeah.
We were talking about Garandan, the Imperial spy, before we came on the air. And he is, I keep saying they're my favorite characters. He is the best. And do you know why?
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Garandan is played by, the voice at least, by a very, very famous actor.
Okay.
Like probably one of the most famous American actors of all time. Does anyone want to guess who Garandan's voice?
It's not Brando, is it?
No.
Okay.
You're honestly on the right track, though.
Okay.
Probably more famous than Marlon Brando. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Heather, do you want to take a guess?
More famous than Brando. Oh my gosh. Frank Sinatra.
Very close. I mean, okay. Here's the answer. Are you ready for the answer?
I'm going to throw names out.
I'm ready for the answer.
Okay. This is according to Ben Burt, right? Ben Burt, sound designer, the best.
Yes.
He was in the archives of, I guess it was Fox at that point when they were doing all the sound design.
Okay.
And he found these unused outtakes.
Okay.
Of John Wayne. And distorted them and made them into the squeaks of Garandan.
No, you're making that up.
I'm not making it up. I'll send you the link. It's real.
That's amazing. Ben Burt, you're a genius.
Ben Burt, the god.
You are a genius. That's crazy. So John Wayne.
Yeah.
John Wayne is like amped up Imperial spy, man.
Well, it is a Western-ish
See?
kind of movie. It makes sense, right?
It makes sense. I don't know if John Wayne was for that. I'm sure.
Do you think John Wayne ever knew that he was in Star Wars? Right? There's no way.
I don't think so. But I mean, that's fascinating to me. I mean, that's almost as fascinating as just like the Wilhelm scream in general, like how that squeaked into Star Wars too. I was like, that's a little nugget that I will treasure for a long time now.
Yeah.
So when I see Garadan again, I'll be like, that's the Duke. That's the Duke. Just really amped up, So
there you go.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like, like with now, with Matthew Wood taking over, that's kind of like him using George Lucas's cough for, like General Grievous. So,
right.
But George knew about that. I don't think the Duke knew about some space alien,
Right.
So then, okay. So in the special editions,
Yes.
we do get a little scene before the whole let's fly out of out of Mos Eisley and get out of here. We get to see Jabba again, and obviously they did film this way back, 75 or whatever, with an English actor, was with a furry kind of overcoat. He's kind of like a fat little round man. That has like a little Irish brogue to him, So what do you think, Brendan, of the special edition Docking Bay 94 scene?
So I grew up on the special edition, right? I'm not
okay.
I was born in 92. So 97 is prime Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
And so really all I knew for a long time was this new job, and it looked fine to me. And really what got me though was on the VHS tape of the original A New Hope special edition, there was like a big, long documentary just about the scene. And it's George talking about how excited he is. And it is the best. Like going back and watching that is like really defines like what I love about Star Wars, which is, in case you cannot tell, what I love about Star Wars more than anything is like the behind the scenes Star Wars stuff. And that was like the first behind the scenes documentary for me was about this. And especially the thing that always stuck out to me was them describing why they had Han step on Jabba's tail.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is Harrison Ford walking behind the actor, but you can't actually do that with, a big slug. And so,
no, right.
Which I thought was the greatest, and I still think is the greatest. So I stand by it.
You stand by it.
Right.
Also, he says, at the end of this little dialogue, he says, Jabba, you're a wonderful human being.
Right.
So do you think that was like being coy, or was it just he was insult. A human and they just like, we just want to leave it in there. We're not changing the dialogue at all.
Yeah, it's probably the latter, but I like to think of it as Han Solo like giving an insult or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of want to think of the first part, but I think maybe just like it was already in the script, I guess. I don't know,
Right.
There's also a little there's a couple, Greedo got fried, in the cantina, but there's a couple Rodidians in the scene that kind of look like Greedo.
Right.
And so, but they're saying, no, that's not Greedo. It's just like they just like
their uniform.
They just love vests.
Well, there's another one in Jabba's palace that's wearing the same Greedo uniform. So I assume now it's just all Rodians dressed the same.
Right. Exactly.
It's a good assumption.
It is a good assumption. I don't know. I mean, they just look the same. They're all the same, But I don't know. It's funny because they're just all like, they're all kind of hanging out by Jabba, Okay, of course, in this scene too is our good friend Boba Fett. So what do you think about Boba Fett looking at the camera, Brandon?
Okay. I have to tread lightly because I had Mark Austin, who played Boba Fett in the special edition of the Docking Bay 94 scene on the show.
Nice.
And it was a great talk. He's super great because he was actually a Lucasfilm employee. He worked and he was doing all of the computer animation for the special editions.
Okay.
And then he got a call and they're like, hey, we know that you're about the same height and the same weight and you can fit into this costume. Do you want to come down to the ranch for a day and maybe be Boba Fett? And so he was like, sure.
Sure,
right?
sure.
I mean, no one would say no to that.
Right. Exactly.
And the way he describes that scene, because I asked him about that scene, I said, what was the direction there? Was it to look at the camera? Is that like a George Lucas thing to like break the fourth wall and look at the camera?
Yeah.
And what he said was, he is not actually looking at the camera.
Oh.
He is actually, how the helmet was positioned on his face at that point. He was actually kind of looking to the side and did not realize that he was like pointing straight. And so George, though, in the editing room, loved that scene, like that take.
Okay.
And then that's what they went with. So that is the story of the looking at the camera. For better or for worse, it is a George Lucas decision. And we have to stand by it.
Right.
Those are the rules.
So basically what you're telling me is that he couldn't really see through the helmet and his head was kind of tweaked in the helmet and he thought he was looking somewhere else. And it was actually... That's
the story I was told. I mean, you're a 501st member. Do you believe, is that a story? Is that feasible? Is that something that could happen?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because your visibility in any kind of helmet is pretty bad, you know?
Right.
And I would assume like it depending on if they tweaked it at all. I mean, one size fits most, you know, he could have like been trying to turn his head and the helmet's not reacting as much as he thinks he's turning his head, you know, which happens all the time, you know? And so, I believe it. I just, I just can't believe George like broke the fourth wall in that, you know?
See, I definitely can. It sounds like a very George Lucas thing. Like, that's funny. I like that one.
Yeah, he's getting crazy and with special editions. He's like, hey, let's try this out. You know, Ferris Bueller did it. Let's do it now. You know, let's do it now in special edition, you know?
Right.
Heather, what are your thoughts about the Boba Fett scene there?
I'm not against it. No, I mean, I kind of echo a lot of what you guys were saying, I think, and kind of similar to the whole Jabba human being thing. I think sometimes plan A is working and then you realize that things shift in production film wise.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know. There's those moments where you're like, I don't know, it still kind of works. Or it's, the tip of the hats that we like to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just kind of nods to kind of goofy things that I'm with you, Brandon. I think George is like, let's just do that.
Yeah.
Let me just throw that in there for, what? Why not? Like,
why not? Yeah. Well, apparently Ben Burt threw it in John Wayne. Why not? You know?
Why not? Who knows? Probably
awesome.
The Queen of England's in the movie too, and we don't even know it.
Right. Exactly. So Brendan, this is episode 94, and you have a podcast called Talking Bay 94.
Right.
So why don't you? Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Why do you like Star Wars so much? Let's start
with
with
I like Star Wars so much.
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, really, we kind of touched on it, honestly. Star Wars special editions came out at the perfect time for me, right? I was 5 years old, and it was on a big screen, right? You can't really ask for anything better. And it really has always been like my thing. And kind of as I've grown and as I've kind of grown with it, it was the prequels, and now it's the new Disney movies and the books and everything just kind of has been so formative for me. And so I really can't get rid of it.
It's here to stay. It's here to stay.
Yeah. Some people thought it was a phase, right? My mom would probably hope that it was a phase, but she's been buying enough Star Wars toys for Christmas over the past 20 years that she just had to get over it. So.
Yeah, right. So it really was the special edition that kind of cemented that love.
And really, that's what I have to give credit to, right? And same with the prequels. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the despecialized editions, right? Where it's just like the crisp, perfect versions. And I love those too. But really, it's like the special editions and then the prequels. There's a whole new generation of fans that's what their Star Wars is. And it's something to consider and something to keep in mind. So I love all Star Wars, though. I made a point to somebody where I was like, every Star Wars, no matter how bad that Star Wars is good Star Wars, right? Like the Ewok TV movies, good Star Wars,
good
right?
Star
Holiday
Wars.
specials, good Star Wars, right? Like everything is good Star Wars, and we also need to calm down and just love Star Wars, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah, right. Exactly. So all right. So you're take me on the journey to when you wanted to do a podcast.
Yeah. For a long time, I just listened to Star Wars podcasts, right? I was like, I just want to like not do it, right? Because I feel like every time I listen to like shows, I'm like, oh, they know what I'm talking. You know, I'm not going to say anything new, really. That's what I was kind of worried about. And but what happened was, and I've told Jason and Gabe who run Blast Points, I spent Christmas last winter just driving around my hometown, just listening to like probably 30 episodes of Blast Points. Like I spent like 2 weeks just only listening to Blast Points. Right. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is really fun. And I just want to like talk about Star Wars. Like what we're doing right now is like my favorite thing in the world. I was like, how can I just do this all the time?
Right.
And so I kind of first wanted to figure out something unique, right? I didn't want to just be like, hey, it's just me like talking about Star Wars. And so I did a little research, and one of the things I love more than anything, I'm looking at it right now, is I just love, again, the behind the scenes Star Wars. And I was like, there's not a lot that is specifically just about the behind the scenes, right? Okay. I don't want to talk about the news. I just want to talk about the old stuff. And like, so I had a few contacts and a few people I'd met over the years, going to conventions and
stalking people, no big deal.
Stalking people, Facebook friending Star Wars actors when I was, 15, thinking that it was fun to be Daniel Logan's friend or whatever. So I kind of built up a little directory, and I was like, let me reach out to people, see if they would be interested. And so I did some test runs of interviewing people in person.
Yes.
And then backlogged probably 10 episodes. Okay. And then just launched Talking Bay 94. And it's been a lot of fun. And I've interviewed some super cool people. I think we're up to like 20 Academy Awards now, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
So I'm having a blast. Every time I talk to somebody, I just freak out. And so it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So like what so far, I mean, I know they're all your babies. So what's been your favorite though, like interview?
Can I pick two favorites?
Yeah, you can. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Interview number one is with Timothy Zahn. Which was because growing up, like I was reading, the Thrawn trilogy underneath my desk at school. Like it was like, that's the baby thing right there. Right? Yeah. And so at San Diego this year, I had reached out to his, he was coming to Dallas. He didn't come to Dallas in probably a decade. He was coming to Dallas for the new Thrawn book as part of the book tour. So I reached out to that bookstore. I was like, hey, I'm a local podcast. I'd love to like work with you guys. And they're like, well, like if you want to interview him, you could do that. And I was like, I don't know. I would hate to do that, but sure. Why not? Sure. But so I worked it out where I interviewed him at the Delray booth at San Diego Comic-Con. And it was just like the best day of my entire life. I was just buzzing for like a whole day, just freaking out. And that was the best. And then the other one that always sticks out to me is we interviewed Greg Proops, whose Line Is It Anyway? He was one of the guys on Whose Line.
Okay.
And he just does comedy now, right? But he
was an announcer.
He was one of the announcers. He was one of the two-headed announcers in Phantom Menace. And so no one ever asks him about that. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, you're going to be in Dallas. Like, do you want to be on a Star Wars podcast and talk about Star Wars? And he was like, sure. So me and my producer went out to the Improv and went to a show, which was great. And then afterwards, he called us in, smoked a cigarette in the green room, and then just talked about Star Wars for 30 minutes and did a one-man show in front of me and then like the comedians that had opened for him. And it was the best. So those are my two like favorite things I've ever done.
That's amazing. Yeah. Like that's great. Cause like for me, Timothy Zahn too was, that's what kind of got me back into Star Wars, I would say. Cause I'm a lot older, so, I grew up with the original trilogy and, Star Wars went away. There was a black hole,
Right.
And when Zahn's, book came out, I was like, I saw some kid reading that. I'm like, dude, what is that? And it's like, is that Star Wars? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I got to read this. And I read it all up. And he's my favorite author. He's the best. Yeah. So that's great, dude. That's great.
Yeah. No, fun stuff.
So, what is your style? So you interview kind of like people behind the scenes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the couple that I listened to have been fantastic. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. You had like the Kenner guy on. I was like, dude, this is cool. That's awesome. And then you had the Max Rebo puppeteer. Yeah. I was like, what is this?
Well, one of my favorite things in Star Wars is the Cantina and then Jabba's Palace. So Jabba's Palace has been where it's been really great because a lot of those guys all had already worked together on a bunch of Henson movies. And I love Jim Henson. And so like talking to all these guys has been the best because they can not only talk about Return of the Jedi and some of my favorite creatures, but then they're like, oh, and then like, you know, is me and Jim Henson like puppeteering and Dark Crystal and Labyrinth? And you're like, okay, sure, like keep going. Like, that's fine. So I love all those guys. It's been a fun time. So. Yeah,
I know. Like that guy was in Dark Crystal too. I was like, dude, that's amazing. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. That's great.
The best is the best is a lot of those guys ended up working on Roger Rabbit as puppeteers, which you wouldn't think had puppeteers, right? It's just animated and then live action people, but they had to puppeteer the utensils and the props that the animated creatures were going to end up being animated using, right? So if there was a fork and a knife, they were controlling the fork and the knife, which is crazy. And I was like, this is super cool, guys. So I always love talking to those guys because I just freak out for, an hour about Roger Rabbit and Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah. So it's like Roger Rabbit, was the fork,
right, exactly.
Fork. Yeah.
So
that, you don't really think about that, but again, like in that style, even though it was like cutting edge, they had to use, wires and stuff to make that look like the cartoon character was handling it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
So, what are some things you got coming up as far as like in Talking Bay 94?
Yeah. So the next couple weeks, because I'm kind of again backlogging a bunch, and so the next couple weeks are technically old episodes, but no one has heard them before,
except
me.
Right.
But they're the video interviews I was kind of talking about. So I went to a few shows and interviewed people just there when their lines weren't busy. So that's what's coming up. We have the original Emperor, Clive Revel.
Wait, you got the chimpanzee? Wait. You got the chimpanzee?
I wish. We got you got the chimpanzee or the woman or the voice of both of those. And I got the voice of both of those.
Oh, okay.
And then I got Salacious Crumb's laugh, which is the best.
No.
So Mark Dodson, who also voiced the Gremlins, which is it's a pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good, but these are all like 10 minutes long instead of I normally try to do about 40 minutes and just kind of let them talk. So this is a little bit different. We got the hang gliding Ewok, which is just a big get for everybody, right? The guy throwing rocks. So get ready for that.
Heather, tell me you gotta pipe in on this one.
I don't know that I have words right now. So, all right. So you're based in Texas. So that should be a fairly cheap flight for me to get down there.
Right.
That's insane. I'm super jealous.
Does the hang gliding Ewok have a name?
I don't know his name in the movie. I'm a bad Star Wars fan, but Felix Sela is the actor who played him.
Okay.
So you got that.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, no. So there's some fun stuff coming up, and then I've been kind of saving a few. I don't want to tease really, really big ones, but really big ones for me that were. There's a few stars of the documentaries, right? If you watch like the ones on the DVDs, there are a few just superstars.
Yeah,
and those have been like my like passion projects. Like I got Nick Gillard, which was huge, right? I was like, Nick Gillard,
dude, are you serious?
Yeah, I got Nick Gillard to call me. He pulled over the side of the road. And he was at a gas station in the countryside of England and talked to me for 45 minutes. And I was just, if you listen to it at the very end of the episode, you can hear me like choke up because I'm legit crying during talking to Nick Gillard. Because it was like, this is it. So there's a few like Nick Gillard caliber people that
that's great, man.
Sealing the deal with. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's fantastic. That's enough plugs for, I don't want to, spoil all your...
Cut all that out when you put it on. You don't need all that. It's just for you guys to cut all that out.
No, that's awesome. You're like, I might be Star Wars crying on my podcast, but that's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So Nick Gillard, Heather, he did all the stunt work, correct? Am I correct on that? He did all the stunt work? Brandon?
Yeah, he did all the stunts and lightsaber fights of the prequels, which is crazy, right? That defines what Star Wars is now. So
yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, it was no big deal. I just worked for 10 years straight, and and then just stopped working in movies." I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, okay, yeah. So now he just does like small British TV shows. I'm like, okay,
oh, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah,
no big deal.
So, crazy.
That's awesome. That's great, dude. Well, I mean, like, and obviously for all the knocks of the prequels, like Obi-Wan, Darth Maul,
the best
is is the best.
It's
up as far as lightsaber battles. It's probably it's definitely top.
It's up there.
It's up there. You know.
Yeah.
And John, it's really what it's a two punch thing, because it's like that's going on, and then you got Dual Fates with John Williams, and you're just like, it's like this. It's Star Wars magic right there.
Right.
You know,
well, I mean, now what's going to happen is I'm going to end this podcast. I'm going to put on this Blu-ray. I'm just going to watch Phantom Menace till I fall asleep. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. My gift to you.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. All right, Heather, should we move on to news of the week?
Okay.
And now, the Star Wars News of the Week.
So I teased a little earlier that we have from space.com Star Wars Women of the Galaxy. That's going to be released on October 30th, featuring beloved characters such as our dear Leia, Rey, Ahsoka, let's see. How do we say her name? Iden? Is it Iden?
Iden
Versio.
Yes.
Iden, yes. Jin and Rose and Maz. So alongside Ratcliffe's words that convey the characters' backstories and unique qualities, we're going to get 100 brand new, stunning illustrations of characters in a number of styles from 18 award-winning female and non-binary artists.
That's amazing.
Excuse me. During the panel on October 4th at the New York Comic-Con, Ratcliffe and the artists discussed their inspirations and work with the book. Let's see. Ratcliffe, Eckstein, who I'm guessing is Ashley,
That's
and a
right.
number of the artists on the panel pointed out how the character of Osaka has inspired them. She saves everyone with grace and finesse, according to illustrator Sarah Wilkinson. So it looks like we're going to get some good lady shout outs here, you guys, which is exciting. I'm personally just excited to see how that translates to our young female Star Wars fans and how they get to not just be about the boys.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty cool. They didn't show. I mean, this was just happened at New York Comic-Con, so yeah, I think it's going to be great to have kind of a women only book. You know, I think it's great, and there's a lot more than people think. You know, so
for sure. Well, yeah, because I think even when I started podcasting with you guys, there was like 3 that I kind of knew, and then you opened my world to so many of these other characters. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think about this book?
I'm really excited. I'm a huge sucker for big Star Wars books. Right, that's like my I work just to buy big Star Wars books, and so I'm very excited to pick this up. I love Amy Ratcliffe is a great voice in the Star Wars community, and I'm really excited that she got a shot to do this, and I'm excited to see the art, especially, and we'll see. I'm pumped. I have it pre-ordered, so we'll see what happens. I'm ready.
It's already in your Amazon cart. Yeah, it's like it's already bought and paid for. It's happening. So
I mean, that's what's gonna happen. So
no, the only sell, Brendan, is like, how big is the book? Like, is it like?
If we weren't live streaming, I would turn, because right now I'm looking at just like I have a stack probably as big as a child of just hardcover big Star Wars books. Just right in front of me.
Right.
And so, I'm excited, to say the least, for a new big hardcover Star Wars book.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to sell me either. I love the big Star Wars books too. So moving on, comic book review, Pokemon. Yes, Pokemon has done some Star Wars references on a new episode. So the episode was actually episode 93. It would have been great if it was episode 94, but so close. But it was called Hero Leela and Ohola staff with Ash are kind of doing their thing, and he's trying to share his own pop culture knowledge with his friends, and naturally Ash has to transform into Luke Skywalker. No big deal. So there's a couple cool shots of like him wielding, the classic A New Hope poster with Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia's like hugging her leg. Like they have a couple of shots of Ash, like, he's holding a Pokemon ball, but it kind of looks like, A New Hope poster. So I thought it was kind of cool, a little Easter egg drop, and you see that in the old Pokemon. So pretty cool. I wish it was episode 94.
It would have been
it would have been like
so good.
So good.
It would have been
so
perfect.
good. So good. So yeah, there you go. All right, Heather, what else is going on?
Yeah. So, as I'm sure many of you did yesterday when you opened up your social medias, anything Star Wars that you followed, obviously, paid great tribute to our dearly departed Carrie Fisher, as yesterday would have been her 62nd birthday. So many fun images and little captures of, princess to general and all of the different pieces. And I follow one thing on social media. This was Hollywood, and they like to pull out actors and actresses that have passed, and they're like, did you ever get to meet them? And so they did that with Carrie Fisher as well. And just to hear some of the really cool stories and people's pictures from Comic-Cons that they met her, or seeing her in an airport or something, and just to know that while they're gone, they're definitely never forgotten.
Yeah.
And so just a really banner day to see people from all around the world celebrate Carrie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite things is like when Rian Johnson was writing Last Jedi, he was like, yeah, me and I was on Carrie Fisher's bed, and we just talk Star Wars and try to figure out, like, they spent like a whole day trying to figure out dialogue for like two sentences long. And I'm just like, wow, how cool is that? Like, how amazing is that?
Out.
So Brendan, what do you think her loss is to going into episode 9?
You can't even put it in words, right? Not only do you lose Carrie Fisher, but you also lose what the plan for the Leia arc probably was, right? And I know, it's been talked about a lot, and I don't want to go into a whole thing about like how, if 7 was Han and 8 was Luke's movie, then 9 was going to be Leia's. And so we'll see. It was nice seeing them reference that in the press release, that, they aren't going to recast her, or, they're just going to use some alternate takes, and we'll see. So I've scoured all those deleted scenes. So I don't know what they could actually be using, but I'm sure they have something up their sleeve, I'm sure. And it's going to be something very cool. So hopefully it's a good send off.
Yeah. Well, but the weird thing is like your brain's going to say, well, she's not here. Right. So like you have to say, well, how did they do, like you're almost trying to deconstruct the scene instead of like just kind of absorbing it in. And I find that what was even weird because we knew by Last Jedi, I mean, she was already gone, so it was like, you knew it was completed, but it was like, you're seeing her and you're like, she's not here anymore. Right. It's like weird, and I think you're going to kind of get that same feeling, seeing in episode 9.
Very bittersweet, to say the least. But I will say, I mean, if it was anyone else but ILM doing the visual effects, though, I would be worried. So, I mean, like, a lot of people weren't super sold on the Peter Cushing Rogue One stuff, but I freaked out. I loved that stuff so much. So, I'm not the best judge of it, but if it's ILM doing it, I'm sure they're gonna put all the stops.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was a sucker punch for Peter Cushing too, because I was like, especially because the reveal really is like you see his reflection. Like, wait a minute, are they going there? And they did. I was like, so yeah.
That's okay. Bruce actually had to tell me, like, you do realize that's a CG character. And I said, wait, what?
Yeah. And the craziest thing, I think you know this, Brandon, but they found a mask from Peter Cushing got his mask. I think it was like the Dan Aykroyd movie. What was
it was the one where he had the giant
Chevy Chase,
right? It was
Yes. Yeah. And so somebody were like, hey, we have a mask of it, and they scanned the mask, and that's how that whole thing started. And they said what was his name? Noel was basically saying this was like the key to the whole thing because it was like his actual face that we could kind of digitally scan and get it to work. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So amazing. So
That's
crazy.
Weird.
It's very weird. Very cool.
It's weird. It's weird. It's very cool. Very cool. So next up, this came from Heroic Hollywood, but a recent interview from director Rich Moore is talking about Ralph Breaks the Internet, and it was going to have a Kylo Ren joke in it. So he was talking to IGN about this, and he was asking for permission from Lucasfilm, but they denied him. So the one point they were basically how the joke goes is at one point he said, we had a joke about Kylo Ren being a kind of spoiled child. We went to Lucasfilm and said, here's what we're doing. And they said, well, we prefer that you don't show him as a spoiled child. You know, he is our villain, and we prefer you don't do that. So we were respectful of that. Ah, shame. He is a spoiled child.
He is a spoiled child.
Brendan, what do you think about this news?
Let me get off. First, I'm very excited for the new Wreck-It Ralph movie. I think it's going to be super fun.
Oh.
This was,
yes.
If anything, not surprising that Lucasfilm said this, right? And Lucasfilm asked for this. So I think we've kind of gone away from the parodies, right? We used to have the Robot Chicken and the Family Guy and everything.
Yes.
And even like the Detours, Seth Green stuff. And so,
yes. That never saw the light of day, even though that was announced at like honestly, Celebration, whatever.
I think about it every so often. It's probably for the best that it's never going to be announced because the trailer does not look the best, right? If you don't watch the trailer, like this is not great Star Wars, but I think we'll end up getting some. You know, this is as close as I think we're going to get to seeing that in the movie. But I think there's going to be a few other Star Wars call-outs that I'm sure will appease. I'm sure. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, and when it made it to Ready Player One, there was a couple, we got to see some Star Wars ships in there, but this is really kind of poking fun at the character, and it's kind of weird because I'm like, this is all one big family, like it's Pixar, it's Disney, it's like it's Lucasfilm, but he is a spoiled child, so why wouldn't you want to portray it that way? I don't know, Heather. What are your thoughts on this?
So you're coming off of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Where he's literally having a temper tantrum and like constantly being like, more, shoot him, kill him. He's literally like he's having a meltdown in a grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he is. But I mean, we've had conversations on previous episodes too, where I don't know, where I'm just like, what is wrong with this kid? And like, he's the wounded boyfriend, and he's the someone's gonna save him and whatever. Although now I just want him to go straight evil, but still like,
It's just interesting that they're trying to protect something that we kind of already know, but I
think more of a shame than anything is that Adam Driver was just on SNL, right? 2-3 weeks ago, and there was not Matt the Radar Technician sequel, and so really that's what got me upset over the last month, if anything, and so that's kind of where I'm gonna stake my claim there.
Yeah. But did you see they released like that during that week? NBC released some behind the scenes stuff of him, like just behind the scenes of them filming that, and it's fantastic. Dude, check it out. And he can't. Sometimes he can't even keep a straight face, and it's awesome, And the set looks so good. Like it looks so good. I'm like for like a little short It looks legit, but yeah, it's you have to check it out. It's super funny. Well, apparently lastly here, okay. I think all the news that we need to know is you just have to follow Jon Favreau's Instagram. Okay, that's all you need to do. Follow that, and you'll get all your Star Wars news. And it'll be you'll be fit as a fiddle because it was Jon Favreau's birthday. Okay, last week. Happy birthday, Jon Favreau. And who shows up on set? He has a picture with George Lucas. and the caption reads like birthday surprise. Oh man. Brendan, is that one of your gets? Is George Lucas?
Here's the thing. If I ever, I think, see George Lucas in person or like say a word to George Lucas, I would die. And so like I wouldn't have time to edit the podcast. So I don't think I could ever actually get him because it would actually kill me. I think there is. I think there was the 2 pictures, right, of him and then the bonus.
Yeah.
And the bonus killed me even more. So I was like, ooh, I was like, these are my dudes. So I can never meet George Lucas or be in the same room as George Lucas because I think, I wouldn't be able to control myself. And we don't want to spend the next 20 years, in prison or something. So
right. Yeah.
That's how I feel about
fair.
Frank
That's
Oz.
fair.
So I hear ya.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, like how much winning is Jon Favreau? Like, my birthday and like what did Kathleen Kennedy just like, hey George, can you get on the set, and hang out and take a picture with him or whatever? I'm just like, George could do anything he wants, It's like, yeah, sure,
why not?
I'll come
I mean,
down,
the Solo
not?
documentary. I don't know if you saw that of him visiting the Solo set with Ron Howard, and he's on the Millennium Falcon, and they're playing chess together, and I was like, okay, we need to stop right now to pause it. I was like, okay, let's just sit here for a second and just really enjoy this because it was anytime George Lucas visits, it's a holiday really. So
yeah, it really is. Well, yeah, and then there's like Warwick Davis like on the Millennium Falcon too. You're like,
my theory
this is all makeup,
and it was kind of confirmed by John Kasdan in his tweet where I think Willow is coming back. So that might have been the conversation that was occurring. I think they're doing, and they're really just trying to kill me this year. So we'll see what happens. That's my theory. That's my theory of why.
We'll just see what I'll say. Hey George, I got Ron here.
Just say that you want to do the Willow sequel and stop making art films in your garage. That's pretty much it.
Well, George is like, I really got like Howard the Duck. I really want to get to that.
Let's not besmirch Howard the Duck on a podcast that I'm on. That's all I'll say. As someone that spent money this week on the first appearance of Howard the Duck in the comics, I can't be on a podcast.
Oh,
that's just
all right. All right.
Right now.
Okay. I won't do it, bro. I promise. But yeah, I was just like, okay, so let's just kind of recap what was been on,
yes, please.
On his Instagram. Okay. So way back when it was just like, it was him and Filoni hanging out, at Skywalker Ranch. You're like, okay, this means it's legit, trying to figure out live action stuff, and then you have the Mandalorian synopsis. He's like, here's this go, here's what Mandalorian's going to be all about. Then there's the actual pic of the Mandalorian on set. You're like, whoa, I didn't expect that because like it literally was the next day. And then we talked about this last week on our podcast, the ice cream maker from Cloud City. Brandon, that's a get. You got to get that
Wilbur
guy.
Hood, baby. Right? That's it.
Yes.
You got to do it.
That's it. That's a good get. And then, well, the best part is that's literally George Lucas's ice cream maker that he's carrying, which I think is fantastic. George is like, hey, I have this. This looks sci-fi enough. Let's put it in there. So we had the ice cream maker and then the Abian phase blaster that is from Boba Fett in the holiday special, there. And then, the next day he's like, oh, here's Lion King that I'm doing with like Seth Rogen and, a little guy named Lando Calrissian that was just on South. It's like, dude, what's happening? Then it's like George, and then it's a picture of him and George, and then, like you said, Brendan, it's like George Filoni and Jon Favreau. The dream. It's like he's living the dream. So, super excited about the Mandalorian. What are your thoughts about that, my friend?
I'm also very excited, and I have another theory, which is: do you think Mr. Favreau, while recording lines for The Lion King, went up to his friend Donald Glover and was like, hey, like, I'm doing the show. It's 3 years after Return of the Jedi. You're about the same age as Billy D. Williams now when the original movies. Like, do you want to come and like swing by and like be a part of this thing for an episode, right? Like, because I can see that happening. I don't think enough people are talking about that because that would be crazy.
Dude, that I didn't even think about that. And now that you planted that in my head, I can't even think about that. I can't even think about that, you know? Yeah. The other thing that I've been thinking about too is like, what happens if, because they could jump around a little bit, you know, what happens if they just called Harrison Ford and, you know, because like now, like he was wearing a crazy beard the other day, like Harrison Ford had, and like they have the bearded Harrison Ford in Battlefront 2 in the story. So I'm like, how legit would it be? Like the first episode out of the gate that like he just kind of brushes by like Chewie and Han at some cantina. I think and like Harrison Ford doesn't have to say anything. Right. He just has to look.
I mean, what would happen is I would turn it off, I'd go to bed, and I'd have to watch it the next day. I'd have to be like, you know what? I can't do this today. I need to just like sleep this off. Yeah, way too much. Way too much.
It's too much. But dude, now that you said that about like Donald Glover, it's like, hey, dude, you know, the wardrobe is still there. You just have to put on one of the capes and just come down.
Easy.
You know,
it's probably right there, right? It's probably 30 minutes away. What else is he doing? He broke his foot.
Right, like, exactly. Right. All right. Well, that's the other thing. That's kind of my theory is that maybe the Mandalorian is more like him intersecting with other people in the Star Wars universe and not really him being the sole focus. So I don't know.
I'm excited.
Well, we shall see. All right. Should we move on to Katina Chat? All right, so Brendan, this is our like little like, hey, have you done anything geeky in the last week, kind of thing. So we'll start with you. Have you done anything geeky, my friend?
Geeky.
Okay.
I went and saw the new Halloween movie on Thursday, and I really enjoyed that. That counts as being geeky. And so this whole week leading up to it, I was just only watching Halloween, right? I was like, okay, let's just get through all of these again, just like remind myself what's going on here. But the new one is very good and probably the second best of any of them, which is not super hard. But,
right.
But I did really enjoy it. And so
that's awesome.
That's kind of the big geeky thing that I did this week.
That's awesome. And it like killed in the box office too. So
I know, which is great.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, we should remake Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. Like, that's not the lesson that you should be learning from this. Just make a good movie, please. Like, that's all you need to do.
But that's what Hollywood does. It's true. It's like, hey, you know, it makes some money. Let's do it again. Let's just remake it, you know? So, Heather, what about you? Did you?
There was no troll hunting this time. I went for my other nerdy side this weekend. And did some back-to-back Fred Astaire movies. Kicked it old school.
There you go.
All right.
Basically, I think I have an old man crush on Fred Astaire. It's fair, right? It's a valid point.
It's fair.
Yeah. So on Saturday here in the Chicagoland area, we saw our first snowflakes.
Yes. It was like it wasn't snowflake. It was like a snow tornado.
Anyway, it's too soon. Oh, Brandon.
Wait, what is this? Snow?
If you only knew.
Well, we don't. If this happened in Dallas, my friend, the whole highway system would have been shut down.
We wouldn't drive for weeks.
Yeah. So on Saturday when it snowed, I watched Easter Parade, which was pretty exciting. And then Sunday I watched Royal Wedding. So, which had the famous scene of Fred Astaire dancing on the ceiling. So just kind of fun filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
That especially back then, because that was probably
especially
like
back
leaps
then,
and bounds for them. But then you watch Star Wars movies and you're like, yeah, maybe not that great, but for the time period, super cool. And then I got bombarded by fellow podcaster Todd Hoffman about building a droid, because apparently anybody can do it. So I got to do it.
That's right. It was a gentle push. Like, it was like pushing Luke. It was like pushing Luke off the plank of the skiff just to naturally do what he does the best.
So yeah. My other side of the nerd.
That's great. I thought you were gonna go like Run Fair stuff, and I know that was closed, so I was like, I didn't know you had this old man crush thing going on here. You know,
it's all good. It's all good.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good,
man.
It's healthy. Everything's healthy. It's healthy in moderation.
Then, do you want me to fill in for Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, can you go in a deep voice?
I don't think I can do the radio voice the dad jokes.
Okay.
All
right. Well, try your best. Try your best.
Aaron had a high and a low over his past week. So unfortunately, he and his family had to say goodbye to their little dog, Molly. She was 10 years old, but ended up having some kidney issues, and so they had to put her down, which is just so stupidly awful. So cue the harpy music and dedication to Molly right now. But on a positive, he discovered a bizarre wackiness called Turkish Star Wars. Oh, Brandon knows.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this, Brandon? Do you know about this?
Turkish Star Wars. They actually played. I don't know if you guys know the Alamo Drafthouse, but the Alamo Drafthouse played that in the theater. First, they played it as like a pre-show before, I think, Force Awakens. But then they were like, you know what? Like, we're just going to play the entire thing, and you're going to sit here and pay money to watch this. I recommend not doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, it is Turkish Star Wars.
He sent us a link, like, I think that was today or yesterday. And I was just like, what is this madness? I've never seen this before. Another gem from the past.
Another gem. That's a word.
And like, there's all this copyright infringement, and it's just glorious.
My gosh.
So have you seen it, the whole thing through?
Yes, I might have fallen asleep or just closed my eyes or like walked out for a while, but yes, I've technically seen it.
Okay. All right, good.
Todd?
I don't really have too much to report this week, unfortunately, but Trent and Trent is my 5-year-old son. We've been playing a lot of Star Wars Battlefront. So
nice.
We're super excited about the new stuff coming out, but he loves playing, so we have a great time kind of talking about Star Wars, why we play Battlefront. So, that's been fun. So, I didn't do any weird like snow blizzard stuff in our little thing that happened last Saturday. That was so weird, but no movie marathons this week. So,
all right, Todd.
All right, moving on to Twitter trash compactor.
Get in there, you big polio! I don't care what you smell! Get in there and don't worry about it!
All right, so here we go. Every week we do a little poll on the old Twitter, and last week we were talking about which character had the most impact changing sides. So last week, Brandon, we kind of talked about 7 characters. StarWars.com ran this kind of thing about like 7 characters that changed, sides. They had a little change of heart. And so we picked 4 because, Twitter only allows you to pick 4 of, everything. So we chose Finn, Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka, and Bodhi. So let's go, Brandon. Who do you think has the most impact for you in that list? Change in size.
I do have a big soft spot for Bodhi Rook. So
okay.
I don't know if he necessarily would win this poll,
Right.
But he did. I mean, like without Bodhi Rook, like you would not have destroyed the Death Star, and then the Rebel Alliance wouldn't have existed, and then you would have had this whole snowball effect that none of the movies would have happened. So you could argue that Riz Ahmed as Bodhi Rook is the most important character in Star Wars, but I'm sure he's not.
Yeah, you are correct, sir. But I want before I give the answer away, I want to know. I got to know your soft spot. Why do you have a soft spot for Bodhi Rook?
I mean, I think if you did a whole episode about it, it's the whole traitor kind of turning around and like figuring out that something is good. I mean, that's why the Finn story is so compelling, really, in this new sequel trilogy, and probably, in my opinion, the most compelling of the storylines of the main characters.
Oh, okay.
We'll see how the episode 9 turns out, but I think it has the most potential.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Bodhi, especially, like you're introduced to so many characters so quickly, and Bodhi is the one that's kind of motivated the most by like what's good.
Yeah.
And I always kind of like that.
Yeah.
And also Riz Ahmed, even though I went and saw Venom last week, which was not my best decision, but he was in it, and I was like, okay, I will support anything that Riz Ahmed does.
Oh, he's in Venom. I did not know
he is the bad guy in Venom. If that convinces you to go see Venom,
nice.
He is the main villain in Venom. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is laser. The thing about like Rogue One, he is the one that is laser focused on. I'm doing this now. I'm the pilot. He's laser focused, and I think that really goes well. And his acting is so spot on. The two scenes of like him when he's trying to get back to the ship with the data line, and he's like, I got to run. I got to do this, and it's like that moment of like, I got to do this. And then obviously when the thermal detonator comes in, you're like, oh.
You're like,
oh, here it is. But yeah, Anakin Skywalker won hands down. So he got 87% of the poll there, which is fair. It's fair.
Can't argue that.
It's fair, and it's kind of obvious. But I had there's a couple conversations going back and forth on the Twitter on this poll. Do you think if he didn't change sides, does it change the outcome?
Anakin?
Yeah.
If he does not change sides, I mean, what would happen in the long run is that Luke would have died, right? Luke would have either died or turned to the dark side.
Okay.
And you really don't know what that outcome would have ended up being for the Rebel Alliance, right? Like Death Star, probably would have been destroyed. But if you have Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine and either a dead Luke Skywalker or an evil Luke Skywalker, like that's not the best.
Okay. I just, my thing is like, I'm saying like even earlier, I feel like the Emperor would have carried out the decimation of the Jedi, regardless if Anakin turns or not. He really wanted Anakin, but like, I don't think his plan still works. It's just not as accelerated. He's not going to be able to wipe out all the main Jedis real quick without Anakin. And Anakin takes care of his Confederacy as well as like some of the main Jedi. But I feel like the Emperor's got the long game in play. And so I don't think like Anakin, regardless, because he might have stopped and not killed Mace. If you kind of go in that thinking, you're like, okay, he goes that route. But if Emperor goes on trial or anything like that, I feel like he could just say Order 66 to one of the clone troopers, and it's going to happen. It will happen eventually. Right. So, but yeah, something to think about. Kind of put that, like, hey, if Anakin doesn't change, but he definitely helps. So, all right. So that's Twitter Trash Compactor. All right. Why don't I just wrap us up here? Thanks again for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. Once again, you can check us out on the social media at WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. You could comment, tweet, rate us on iTunes, email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. You can leave us a voicemail, 630-557-WSTR, 630-557-9787. Just leave us voicemail. We still want to hear from you about your favorite Star Wars celebration. So if you have any of those, please tell us some of those. Brendan, we were talking before the show. You were at Celebration, which one? 4, you said?
It's 4, yeah. So over 10 years ago. It was the only celebration I've been to, but we flew from Dallas to LA, convinced my parents that like this was a good idea for a family vacation.
Yeah.
And it was the best. Like it was because that was, I think,
how
30th anniversary of Star Wars. So
Okay.
it was like so the big guests that year were Irvin Kershner, which was incredible. Carrie Fisher was there. And yeah, it was a blast. So
And how old were you at that point?
How old was I? I was 14, 15.
Oh, dude, that's like amazing.
I know, pretty ripe age, just like running around. There's some pretty good pictures of me, like with braces and like, yeah, it's very good. I posted them a couple times. I'll post them again because they are pretty prime branded pictures.
That's amazing. That's so great. Yeah. That's great. So, and we talked, you are going to Chicago, so that's fantastic.
I will be at Chicago, so I'm excited to meet you guys in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chicago, it'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
we'll sleep on the same floor, waiting to get into a panel or something.
we could like sleep on some concrete floor together so we could see the episode 9 trailer together or something like that.
Right. And then it'll immediately go online. You're like, well, like, was that worth it? Like, I guess. Like,
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
We could cry together. It'd be great.
Right.
It'd be fine. Yeah, exactly. You can also catch up on all our back catalog of episodes at www.wstrmedia.com. That's www.wstrmedia.com. There's a lot of W's, but you can get them there. We also have merch, teespring.com/stores/WSTR Media. Brandon, where can peeps find you on the socials?
For Star Wars stuff, just follow me across the board at Talking Bay 94. That's Twitter and Instagram mostly. And then we're on iTunes and Spotify and pretty much everywhere, talkingbay94.com. So
nice.
Other than that, you would just be getting like weird A&M sports stuff on my personal account. So we'll focus on the Star Wars.
We'll just focus on the Star Wars stuff. Right.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, if you follow Heather, you get a lot of like random cat pictures. I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. It's awesome.
It's my life, people. It's my life.
That's right. Before we wrap this up, Brendan, last question before we end this, like what has you excited coming up in Star Wars?
Man, that's a lot. Because really every day is like, I can't wait to like watch that. Or I've been loving Resistance. I think Resistance is a blast.
Okay.
I think it's going to really ramp up and be exciting. Every day I have a feeling we're about to get an episode 9 trailer. I just have like a feeling because like Black Friday was Force Awakens, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so we are so close, right? We're almost in November. We are so close to either a title or a summary or something. We're going to get something because JJ loves to mess with us, right? So that's coming, and that's kind of all I can think about. So.
Right. Yeah. No, I think my mind's been exploding basically because, they're filming episode 9 and they're filming The Mandalorian like at the same time right now. And I don't know if I can handle that right now.
And they're probably editing new Clone Wars right now at the same time. So really, they're really trying to make sure that my life is real.
So you're thinking we are going to get that infamous like 88-second trailer for episode 9 this early?
Right. There's going to be 6 shots and then people are going to do the same fan art of the same 6 shots for the next 6 months, and then we'll figure it out.
Right, and then we have to wait till Celebration Chicago to get the real deal. Yeah,
right. And then like here's some black and white photos. And you're like, okay,
right. But like speaking about Instagram, like JJ's Instagram, it's not. They're not really giving anything out for episode 9.
No, they did that one shot in the Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like zooming in on the blur. I was like, is that a vest? Like what's in the, and I was like, I was really trying. I couldn't get much. But then the next couple of days, there was all those leaked photos.
Yes. Yeah.
Is what it is. But I was like, okay, now, cause like, I don't know, like I'm of two minds about leaks, right? One is like, I just want to go in and like not know anything.
Yeah.
Right. And just kind of, but on the other side, I'm like, I know if I go in and not knowing anything, it will kill me, right? Like, because it's already, I'm watching Rogue One, right? I'm like, oh, that's a new planet name, or I don't know that. And like, I'm freaking out that I have to like remember all this stuff.
Right.
So if I'm going in completely blank, by the end of the movie, I'll just be keeled over. So
Right. You need some of that foreknowledge to kind of like, okay.
And that's why Jason Ward is so important. Right? Otherwise, I'd be dead by now.
Right. We have Chewie on horseback. That's all you know, like if Chewie rides the horse, I might have to lie down for a little bit, you know.
Right.
But,
they already showed it in the Solo poster, right? They're like, oh, here's like some horses that they might be riding. And you're like, oh no.
No, it didn't.
They're saving that.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So that's great. So you're saying Resistance, anything else that got your fancy?
No, I'm trying to think of, I haven't read the Solo novelization yet, so that's on my shelf right now to read.
Nice.
But other than that, Star Wars, I'm trying to just kind of stay straight until the episode 9 trailer comes out.
Right. That's awesome. Well, we're honest. Thanks again for coming on the show. Yeah. It's been a blast. And seriously, we can't wait to meet you in Chicago. You know,
I know. I'm excited.
It's no excuses. You know,
I know, right? It's like,
so that's awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show, and definitely check them out. Talking Bay 94. So next week, episode 95, we have a special guest. Kevin Michelson is coming back to the show. He was all the way back in episode 10. So he's actually going to come back to the show, which is great. So we'll be talking games and whatnot with him. So Heather, you know how to close this out.
I do.
You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. This
is podcasting. Dun, 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 dun.